Hi everyone, and a warm welcome back to the WARNO February tournament from SD League. Today we are watching Fantyx and Buff in 2 games. This first one, obviously we are seeing Fantyx on the left in blue as the 3rd Armoured, and over on the right we have Buff as the 7th Panzer Division. Neither player with forward deployment troops, but obviously they're both sending plenty of recon troops in early. Quite a lot here from Buff. We'll get there before anything arrives from Fantyx, though this Apache could be devastating if it gets there in time to stop these Special Av Clara. There's also an F-15C Eagle up, which will make very short work of that Mi-24D when it gets spotted. Plenty of reinforcements coming in here for Buff. Obviously important for him to try and reach Alpha and the city first to stop Fantyx being able to push in that side. Smattering of units for both players at the top. Once again on this map we're going to be seeing a lot of fighting around Alpha, which is not uncommon obviously. Apache has made it here, but is going to be engaging on that Mi-24. It's also engaging on all the infantry. Oh, Eagle is coming in. Eagle is going for the MiG-21. MiG-21 is down. Mi-24D taking fire from the Apache. Is being stunned by the Apache, while the Apache is also killing all the infantry. One squad of infantry almost completely dead. Chaparral is rolling in now, which will finish off the Mi-24. Mi-24 is attempting to evac, getting off a couple of random shots. Buff really needs some anti-air up here. There is a cub all the way back there. One is pushing up though. A little bit of a defensive posturing at the top, but look at this down here. This is where it's all happening right now. Chaparral is in and finishes the job on that Mi-24 very quickly as expected. Something needs to come in and kill that Apache. There's a Strela and a Cub there, but they're coming all the way around here. 2 MiG-21 anti-air jets coming in and finishing off that Apache. Really good shout. At least they're in. Ooh, almost such another MiG-21 in the process though. But desperately needed to kill those. Pioneer squad and Special Av Clara squads obviously very badly damaged. They need to be pulled out and healed. Those Pioneers are routed. LRS absolutely tearing apart everything in his path. BMP-1's pushing up here. Bradley IFV obviously in a nice position here. Will be able to have a good look over this way and potentially engage on those BMPs. Oh, loss of a supply vehicle there. The Bradley had a good line of sight down that road, obviously, taking out anything with his missiles. So right now, sort of balanced. I think that Fantyx is doing enough damage that perhaps has a similar amount of units in here in the grand scheme of things. Obviously able to fire from range. Both of those BMP-1s have been lost to the police, and obviously the Abrams pushing in here. There's also an ACAV there, and the Bradley. There's a lot of stuff pushing in this way. Command in to neutralize that. It has been +2 for a while. Buff did get some early caps and is currently sat at 590. Desperately needs reinforcements down here. Desperately needs reinforcements. I do see he's called in another chopper there. That could be somewhat risky. Obviously helpful against the Abrams, but the Chaparral will cause it issues. 2 early Cub purchases right at the start of the game. Not the cheapest units. 80 points, not the most expensive either. But obviously we haven't seen much in the way of aircraft from Fantyx, to be honest. So you never know what the enemy's going to bring out, but in retrospect, a couple of squads of infantry might have been better in the place of that. But it's so hard to predict. Only with hindsight can we tell. That is in serious trouble. The Bradley has a tow 2 on it. It really needs to evac or smoke. It is turning sideways there and showing its rear. It's kind of stuck on the buildings and showing its rear to that missile. That missile will go straight through its armor anyway. And there it is. Front armor hit, but it's still dead. I mean, in that situation, you've got to smoke. If you're out of smoke, you're in serious trouble. I think the best thing would have been to reverse it down the road, perhaps. Also lost the anti-air unit there. Fantyx's positioning on the Bradleys has been absolutely fantastic. Whether it's completely deliberate or just very lucky, I don't know. I don't know how Fantyx is controlling his units right now. I imagine it's a little bit deliberate, getting those good lines of sight down certain roads. Whereas for me, it would be completely by accident. Small amount of forces being brought in at the top for Fantyx there. Obviously, he's maintaining a good control down here at the bottom. Reinforcements coming in, including another command tank. Command tanks cheaper than they used to be, but still fairly expensive in the grand scheme of things. See, this side is now very well covered. I mean, you've got the military police there absolutely wrecking anything that comes this way. That Cub's in danger. The Conkers are in danger. The tank is dead. He needs to do something about that building. That is really good positioning again from Fantyx, getting the military police into there with the M67 recoilless rifle, because he can do damage to everything that comes into that tree line. It doesn't matter if it's tanks, it doesn't matter if it's infantry. He has the capacity to do a lot of damage, and it's all well within the range. So he's in a really good position there. And he can even see, I think, out the back of that forest there. Do you see here? To this area behind there? He can actually see out there. So that is a worry for these tanks, to be honest. Obviously, Fantyx just completely overwhelming here now. There's no reinforcements actually in the point for Buff. So he's just getting pushed further and further back. He is bringing reinforcements in here. I think at this point it would be beneficial to be bringing things in from this side, so you don't have to go through quite so much open ground. HE Bomber coming in for Buff. This is a good choice, going for the military police there. Though this is, I think, in the patch where bombs and artillery had been nerfed considerably. Don't quote me on that. I think that is the case. I think we're in that patch now. So, obviously, didn't really do a huge amount to those military police, where in previous patches, it probably would have wiped them out in one pass. So that's difficult for Buff. He needs a way to clear this. Lots of stuff being called in on this main road here. That's really risky. Again, you've got the Abrams covering this. You've got the ACAV with its M40. It's a difficult place to push into. Obviously, lots of stuff pushing in here. Conker's providing good cover, scaring the Abrams back. Did you see? To be a lot of stuff here trying to push through open ground. Now, he might be able to make it. My concern would be the Bradleys pushing up and getting into a good line of sight on this road. And obviously, the Abrams there will one-hit kill all of these tanks. And my concern is there's a command tank moving up there as well. Chaparral immediately takes out that chopper. I'm a little bit surprised Buff isn't utilising the bottom way in here. I mean, there are still military police spread around, but it's just there's less open ground here. And obviously with still some units in here, he still poses a threat to these engineers, though I'm genuinely surprised these engineers, which have full set of satchel charges, haven't wiped out all those infantry. And there's the surrender. An early surrender there from Buff. Commiserations, Buff. That was a difficult start. A very difficult start. Fantyx just had good positioning and the right amount of forces there. And obviously his chopper early game just really made a huge difference, taking out all those early forces. Very good positioning by Fantyx, though. Obviously, significant difference in kills to losses for so early in the game. Commiserations, Buff. Let's head straight into game number 2. Straight into game 2, we have Buff over on the right in blue, playing as the 5th Panzer Division. There's a 5th, right? I'm not crazy. And then over on the left-hand side in red, we have Fantyx, playing as the 3rd Armoured once more. No early choppers out this time for Fantyx. Fantyx sending a lot to Charlie, a smattering of units to Delta. Where are all these units going? Looks like some are going defensively for Echo, and the majority are going up to Charlie. And these at the back here, again, some defensive stuff here, and more going to Charlie. A Leopard command coming into Bravo, and a smattering of units going up here. So it is a race to Charlie for both players, with a smattering of defensive units elsewhere. Wondering where this tank's going to go. Oh, that's risky. He's taking it around the front of these points into Alpha. That feels risky. I mean, chances are Fantyx isn't going to be across there to see that anyway, but in my head, it feels risky to put it there. Fantyx with those LRS, obviously they have their nice ground surveillance radar, giving them a little boost to what they can see. An M110 in already at the back there for Buff. What is he aiming at? He's aiming at those. He's actually seen the LRS going in there, so he is firing at them. Again, I think this is the patch where all the artillery and bombs got a nerf, so I'm not sure even how much damage the M110 will do here in this situation. Obviously, it fires very slowly. Commands in both these points already. Slight advantage to Fantyx because he did cap earlier than Buff, and will indeed cap this earlier than Buff as well. Oh, wow, LRS absolutely wrecked by the M110. Okay, so it's not bad in this patch. I'm not sure which patch we're in then. It's so confusing to me at this point. There's so many patches and hotfixes being released in quick succession. I'm really worried about that tank. I mean, Fantyx isn't shying away from pushing up a bit, and that Bradley, I mean, it won't be able to see that tank from back there, but if he had some recon here, he could easily push that up and launch potentially a anti-tank missile on the TOW-2s at that. He'd almost be in range. I think Buff's quite lucky there that wasn't further forward. I think if it had been at the edge of here, he probably might have had a line of sight on that tank. Both players with a command in the center. Currently +2 to Fantyx, getting some of those early points, but will be neutralized momentarily. 2 artillery pieces in now. Making short work of this stuff here. Now, really, what I'd like to see is Buff following that up, I suppose, with some infantry. These front units pushing into this town. I mean, this is like a great success. He's killing the stuff at the front, but he needs to capitalize on that and push everything he's got forward. He cannot hold it back. He just needs to get in there. Obviously, the Bradley is providing good cover across this area. If you look out, though, it can't actually see much at the minute. Now, whether that's just because of smoke there, but I think that's actually being blocked by the buildings, not the smoke. So I think, in the grand scheme of things, it would be easy enough for these Panzer Grenadiers and this Marder Milan to push up really, really close. Both players with quite a lot in the middle, though. It looks like Fantyx has more. Akav and Scouts pushing in up here. Very little recon here. Ito pushing up as well. There's not going to be a lot here, but I could see Fantyx potentially pushing in there if there aren't more defenses at some point. Hopefully there's going to be some good use of artillery here to smash the center of the map. Did he get a kill on something there? He's certainly doing damage. Oh, beautiful. Got a hit and took out Supply. Is doing a bit of damage and stunning an M1 Abrams there. Units are pushing up here for Fantyx, though. He is being quite aggressive. Down here, unfortunately for Buff, he didn't push that advantage after killing those units. So it does mean that Fantyx is now getting plenty of reinforcements into here. That said, however, it does mean that Fantyx is bringing reinforcements into Delta and not into the center of the map in Charlie. So that will be advantageous for Buff at the moment. Good use of these Bradleys and the Abrams there, though, by Fantyx to do some long-range fire. What's that he's lost there? I think that was just an Akav he's lost there. Absolutely railing on these Fernspar. Marder Milan getting some shots off. Not the best shot, but it did get a hit, but it can be hit by the Abrams anyway. It is within range. And here comes an Apache rocket. Is there any anti-air here? There's a Gepard at the back. Fantyx keeping up the pressure in the center here and also bringing in a lot down here. Artillery being used by Buff to hit these units here and certainly doing some damage and killing units in this point. But there really isn't enough here for an assault for Buff now. I mean, if he had managed to get in and then have reinforcements getting in after he killed those few front units and hopefully killed that Bradley with the Panzer Grenadiers there, then I think he'd be in this point and be able to even move a command in. But as it stands, I think Fantyx has reinforced that too well. And in the meantime, Fantyx keeping up a lot of pressure on the center here. That command tank is in danger and needs to get out of there quickly. Leopard 203 will be very helpful. He just needs eyes on that Abrams for this Leopard, and this Leopard should be able to kill that Abrams. But that, oh, the Leopard is going to get stunned out by the Apache. Well, Apache is doing a little bit of damage, but it's the stun that is the issue. Milan coming in again from that Marder, but the Marder immediately taking shots. I mean, the Marder technically outranged. The Marder is dead. I think the Marder should technically outrange, but he's lost his anti-air here as well. I don't know what killed the anti-air. I don't know if he pushed it up and the tank got it. I didn't quite see. But Buff's in a lot of trouble already here. Look at the amount of forces the Fantyx did bring in down here. And he is moving them up to support the center by putting some crossfire in across against these units. So again, just superior positioning here from Fantyx. Obviously a more experienced player at the end of the day. And doing a really good job in recent tournament games. Not just in this tournament, but the previous tournament as well. I do feel he's got Buff on the back foot again pretty early on in this game. Never say never though, because there's every chance he can come back. Roland's firing here. Also Roland's taking fire from the seed. Don't think anything died from the seed there. Abrams still pushing up and getting so many kills. Was that the tank? It was. That was the Leo 2A3, I think, that died there to that Abrams. That Abrams is just absolutely I can't describe how much it's just mincing everything. Really well played by Fantyx and his positioning on those. It is finally dead. Finally dead. But it has killed so much. It has more than paid for itself, that Abrams. Another one is on the way in though. Obviously there's one down here as well that's being used quite aggressively by Fantyx. Not a lot of movement up here. A little bit of movement forward perhaps by Fantyx's scout units just to have a little prod and a poke. Artillery fire coming in again. How much of these artillery pieces should I have interest? 280 points. 280 points for a couple of artillery pieces. That's really expensive. 280 points apiece. It's nearly 600 points on artillery. And as you'll note, there isn't the same artillery from the other side. So where Fantyx lacks artillery, he's made up for in tanks, infantry, and Apache helicopters. Obviously, Fantyx losing units to Buff. Buff is doing a good job with his artillery. But he's not holding ground is the issue. So I feel like he's struggling a wee bit here. But there's still 30 minutes left. He can turn this around. All he needs is some really good kills and a push back into the center here. That artillery's done a good job. I mean, he's pushed back units here. He's done damage. And there's not a lot down here. I feel like Buff's playing a little bit more defensively than Fantyx, and Fantyx is quite an aggressive player. And it does pay off in these tournament games to be quite aggressive. Prodding, poking, pushing, and just eating away your opponent. You may lose units doing it, but you're always pushing your opponent back in that situation. I think that's an attempt to kill the tank that was there. Is the tank dead? I think he might have actually killed the tank. I can't see it anywhere. I think the first artillery shell might have killed a tank there. Can we see it? There is smoke and flames. Yeah, dead tank. I think the first shell of that volley actually got it. Well done. Here we go. Buff pushing back in. Sent in the command tank first. That is risky. He needs to get in here and kill these flash. Leopard should absolutely mince those flash. What else is at the back here? There is an Abrams in the center. Just needs to keep the pressure up here. Needs to get right on top of that Bradley with a few tanks and kill it quickly before it launches loads of missiles. Now, Apache is an issue. He needs some anti-air up here. This is a good push from Buff. This is what we wanted to see. Come on, Buff. Get back in there. Push him out the point at the other side. That might be a challenge. That Abrams is going to cause issues. It should die here. These are quite clustered, and obviously the Apache is very devastating with those rockets in terms of its ability to stun. Really good, though. He's managed to kill the Abrams there. There is another Abrams being called down that was up this way, though. Fantyx has support he can call on. Artillery still hitting units over this way. Obviously, these units putting the pressure on when reinforcements are being called in, so good reason to do that. Leo 2A3 has taken a shot. Lots of reinforcement infantry coming in now. Fantyx with a good lead on points, just under 600. But Buff has managed to get back in here. A little bit worried about that M67 getting close to this 1A5. Another Apache being called in at the back there. This time a proper Apache with Hellfires. That will cause serious issues for these Leopards if there isn't any anti-air pushed up. Good use of artillery at the back of this point now. A little bit inaccurate, but doing the damage. Stunned one thing there. Unfortunately, not getting the kills, but certainly doing plenty of damage. Got a kill down here. Again, it's forcing Fantyx to pull units further back, further back. A little bit of a creeping barrage perhaps going on there. And here as well, Buff doing a better job at just pushing these units back, making good use of a tank. Leo 2A3 there. Is this going to repair that tank? Yes, it is. It's parking behind there. Apache rocket coming in from Buff as well now. Buff got himself into a much better position here. As I said, these things can turn around. Looked like he was on the back foot, but he's turning it back around the other way. And all it takes sometimes is a few tank kills, some good artillery play. Could just make all the difference in this game. HA coming in at the back there, heading towards the centre from this side. Obviously, there's another Abrams here. A little bit worried about that M67 there. Still has one shot left. He needs to get these infantry out. Oh, just in time. Those Panzergrenadier almost died in the vehicle. There we go. He has managed to kill them. He did lose a martyr, but it's not the end of the world to lose one martyr. That's for sure. Look at this. Loads more blue here now. Loads more units. He needs to push up and round. He needs to get on top of that Bradley with some infantry and pop it in the side with an RPG. And that will really help push this point back towards the side of Fantyx. Fantyx doing a little bit moving around here. You know, I'm just thinking he's eventually going to prod and poke at Alpha at the top. The reason for that is he will want to do what Buff did down here, cause a distraction. Force Buff to bring in units up here to defend. That's not a bad strategy. Really concerned that there are two Lars in the map now as well. These are technically cluster artillery, but they've never been very good. I'm curious to see what happens with those, but I have a fear that they're going to be a bit of a waste of cash. You don't really see them called out in tournament games for that reason. A little bit worried about those. Units being called in up here now. They are going to the top. I think he's realised there's possibly some movement up here. Where is that tank going? I really worry about these command tanks. Buff's a little bit more free about moving them up to the front lines and stuff than most people are. That worries me a wee bit. But he's got a really good pushback in this point right now. He's gone back a bit defensive. And I think he's just quite a defensive player. But the onus is on him to push. He needs points. Right now, Fantyx has points. And the longer he waits before pushing, the more that Fantyx is going to be able to build up his defense and eventually push himself. I think what's missing right at the front here is perhaps some anti-air, just to be putting a little bit of pressure on these Apaches that Fantyx has been making good use of. Good use of artillery here, though. The beauty of hindsight, the beauty of being able to see what's going on the other player's side, though. I mean, Buff has no idea. Fantyx has no idea. We get to see everything. And it makes our judgment calls completely different. Military police pushing around the back here again. Again, everything's just kind of quieting down. No real pushing. Some more anti-air being called in at this side. M1 on 9 finally in for Fantyx. I wondered when we might see some artillery from his side. Couple of mortars in for Buff now. Still haven't noticed these Lars fire. Some more Rolands on the way in here. I mean, some good use of this artillery. He is managing to kill stuff. He's keeping the pressure on. I almost wish he was pummeling the center point though and pushing it. I don't feel like he's in a position to push this bottom point, but he's doing a lot of damage to this bottom point. He needs to keep the pressure off that area, of course, because Fantyx is using it to attack from the side. But I'm just wondering where Buff is going to push, because he needs to push. He needs to get points. He needs to take out the command in the center, or he needs to get a command into Delta. And I'm seeing more stuff being brought in towards the bottom here. And he does have every chance of getting into this point because there's not a lot there still. But he needs to make a decision and he needs to make a move. Because eventually Fantyx is going to have built up enough forces in the center again to push back. I am noticing units being pulled back here. Yeah, I think Buff is planning now to do a push from Echo into Delta. And that could be devastating for Fantyx because he's not got a lot there. But it depends how he responds to that. Obviously, we're seeing now that Buff is pulling forces away from the center with the likely intention of pushing Delta. So if you're pulling stuff away and around, that's fine. But you've got to have a solid wall in the middle. Because eventually Fantyx will push. And I imagine that if Buff pushes into Delta, Fantyx is going to push Charlie hard. And Fantyx has shown he's very efficient at pushing. He has the right unit mix to get away with it and do it well. I have no doubt he can continue to do that. Leopard command tank coming in the bottom. Yeah, we're going to see a push on Delta here. The question is, will Fantyx realize this is going to happen? That smoke is going to be a yes. So, Buff is smoking. Now, smoking is a good thing to do before you assault over open ground. Smoking also gives the game away. So smoking means it looks like you're going to do something. Now, some people sometimes use smoke like that as a distraction. So, for example, Fantyx could bring some smoke in and put a load of smoke down here as if he's going to attack Alpha. And then not do it. But it'll likely, force Buff to adjust his unit positioning and bring something in. A couple of seeds coming in the center here. Not sure what they're going for. They're just kind of hovering. I thought they might go straight over the other side. Artillery being dropped on this area now. I think the intention there was perhaps to do... Oh, that is a lot of Thunderbolts. 3 A-10s coming in. 3 anti-tank A-10s are absolutely wiping out this push. Oh my word. 1 Thunderbolt is down, but the amount of damage, there's so many infantry vehicles with infantry in being destroyed there. Tornado IDSHE did come in. Weasel is being used to attack that as well. The Rolands are reloading the fire again. I mean, this is a good use of seed to make, you know, they're very good at dodging missiles that are coming up. And as a result, the Rolands aren't really firing at the Thunderbolts as much. That is just absolutely fantastic from Fantyx. I mean, beautiful push here from Buff, but Fantyx's response to that was absolutely beautiful. All those A-10s coming in unison with the Seed Jets. He's killed plenty of AA, he's killed plenty of vehicles, a lot of this assaulting force is dead. I mean, there's still plenty of assaulting force there, but well done, Fantyx. That was devastatingly good. Artillery being used to wipe out incoming reinforcements there. Absolutely just smashed both of those that were coming in vehicles. And Buff is in the point, and that's what he needed. Well done, Buff. I mean, you took a lot of losses pushing, and sometimes you do. But that was absolutely superb. Another Thunderbolt coming in here. He needs to be careful with that command tank. Leopard 2A3 is dead as well. Thunderbolt is down. Oh, Buff lost so many units doing that push. But he's in. He's in, and he's at +2. So well done. Well done. When I saw all the units moving in, I thought he's got this. But those A-10s... Fantastic response from Fantyx. I was not expecting 3 A-10s. And they are just so devastating. Their ability to fly in low and slow and just wipe out so many vehicles in one pass. Buff still has some anti-air though. It's not the end of the world for Buff. He's still got anti-air after all those seed and everything. Granted, it's just the Roland 2s which aren't radar anymore. They did go through a phase of being radar, but... Oh. A couple of chaparrals there. Good use of artillery again. The Lars are finally firing at... What are they firing? Oh, they're firing here. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to catch anything. HE bomber coming in at the back there. I'm not sure. Oh, it went for the command and did a lot of damage to the command. He needs to repair that quickly. Still +2 to Buff. He can catch up here. He can still win this. 16 minutes left to go. Apache rolling down. He will want to kill that command. He needs to kill that command. He's also making a push in the middle, so he is the inevitable counter push in the middle. Fantyx moving up units here, testing the water. The reality is there isn't a lot left in the center for Buff. He almost needs to take this entire point here because I think he's going to lose the center. Depends how aggressive Fantyx is here. A lot of this stuff isn't really assaulting forces. He's got some stuff at the back that can be used though. Buff needs to keep moving in the center. He needs to keep moving. My worry is he's going to slow down here. But I think he's going to stop in the center of the point. He's not moving these infantry further forward. And that Leopard is in serious danger. I mean, the Apache's going to have line of sight on it from time to time. He needs AA up there. There's no Rolands left down there. There is a Gepard coming in. The Apache's coming in as well. Command dead. That's a real shame. Such a real shame. Fantyx just with that better positioning surrounding Buff's forces here. Buff lost so much pushing in there, and unfortunately he just doesn't have anything else to push up to support these forces, so they are going to die. Eagle coming in to take out the Apache as well. The Lars are firing at this area here, but the Lars aren't that much use, I don't think, against infantry. They might do some damage to vehicles, but yeah, Lars just... They're not good units. .53 in terms of HE. And they're just, yeah, I mean, they're not even doing that much to these things, and they're supposed to be armor penetrating. That's such a shame. IDSHE came in at the top there. I'm not sure what it went for. Unfortunately, I think this could be game over for Buff. He's got, well, he's got very little left on the field, realistically. He's got a smattering of units in the centre here. He's lost control of the bottom. All that's really left is for Fantyx to push. And he could easily push the centre. And he could easily push Echo right now. I think Buff is in a lot of trouble. He did really, really well to get back in that point. But unfortunately, if you push in somewhere, you kind of need to make sure you have something to back up that push immediately. And Fantyx kind of put a stop to that with all of those A10s. Because he wiped out so much of the initial forces and then so much of the anti-air at the back using all of those aircraft. It made it very difficult for Buff to then push stuff up. So there was just units in here and then a huge gap back here. And unfortunately the anti-air wasn't there to stop the Apaches. It's a real shame because Buff did so well to get in there. But cannot fault Fantyx. Absolutely fantastic tactic bringing in all of those A10s. Absolutely fantastic. A little bit of artillery fire here against the units at the back. And here's the push. Nice, methodical, slow push from Fantyx. He's not in a rush now. He's still well ahead in points. He's reclaimed this side. There's a Leopard 105 command tank just rolling in on its own there. It has a Jeopard for some support, but this feels a wee bit risky. I'm imagining we're going to see something come in to kill that very quickly. 2 HE bombers from Fantyx there. Will make very short work of this tank if they can aim at it. Oh, they veered off. Seed coming in to deal with the Jeopard. Jeopard may have been turned off there because it didn't fire. HE bombers coming back around for another pass. Are they going to fire this time? Yes, they are. Dive bomb against the tank. Tank does evade. HE bombers taking fire from the Rolands. This Roland, unfortunately, out of missiles. Jeopard also gets a couple of shots off. One of those HE bombers is down. And this push here going pretty well right now for Fantyx. Nice and slow. Very little in here, realistically. I mean, there's the command tank. A couple of Panzer Grenadiers, but they're not going to survive all of that. Apache's being pulled back here to rearm and repair. Obviously getting out of shot of that Jeopard. More anti-air coming in now, and a HE bomber coming in here to try and see off some of this push in the middle. Good use of the M110s to aid with that as well. Good bombing strike, but unfortunately didn't really catch anything. And, ooh. HE bomber very lucky there. Cluster bomber coming in as well, going for that tank. Should get the kill. Yes, it does. Unfortunately, does lose the cluster bomber. 10 minutes left of this game. Currently +3 to Fantyx, though. He has control of that centre point. Buff working hard to try and defend here. He obviously lost his command. Potentially could move this command up, but currently it's sat again very front and centre. I'm really worried about the positioning of that command. That's going to be a very easy kill for some Apaches. Or the Abrams, in fact. He's pushing it up to meet the Abrams. That is a big mistake. It is reversing now, he has realised. Good use of artillery, and the bombers here has managed to see off the push from Fantyx, though Fantyx in control of the point, so doesn't necessarily need to push any further, can just wait. Leopard 105 being pulled back here in line of sight of the Abrams and is immediately killed. Cluster will possibly get the kill on the Abrams, but there's the surrender. Commiserations, Buff. Much closer in kills and losses there overall in this match. And really good push mid-game from Buff there. Did a really good job. But unfortunately, Fantyx just saw off that assault with a brilliant strategy with those A10s. I was not expecting that at all. That was an absolutely superb idea. Really well played, guys. Really fun games, especially that second one. Very tense moments at times. Really good use of your artillery there, Buff. Unfortunately, the Lars 2 just still absolutely useless, sadly. They just weren't doing much at all. But the other artillery, the M110s, you were doing a fantastic job with those. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please do like, share, subscribe. Please tune in for more casts later in the week. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all soon.